All right, today we're going to dive into one of the oldest, most powerful stories humanity has ever told. We're talking about the Great Flood. So, here's the big question, the thing that really gets you thinking. Why do we find the same story of a world-ending flood in so many different ancient cultures? I mean, these are civilizations separated by vast oceans, by centuries of time, yet they all tell this one story. It's this incredible puzzle, right? A mystery that really blurs the lines between myth, religion, and maybe even history. Okay, so to really get into this, let's start with probably the most familiar version for many of us. We'll begin our journey with the foundational story of the prophet Noah, that's Noah, as we find it in the Quran. And it's a story that's just epic in scale, right? You've got this prophet, preaching for an unbelievable 900 years, warning his people to turn away from their idols, but almost nobody listens. So he gets this divine command, build a massive ark. Of course, people mock him, they think he's crazy, but then the flood comes, and it's a total cataclysm. Only about 80 believers who heeded the warning, plus pairs of every animal, make it onto the ark. And here's the truly heartbreaking part. Even Nuh's own son refuses to get on board. He thinks he can just climb a mountain to save himself, but he's swept away with everyone else. After it's all over, the waters finally go down, the ark comes to rest, and this small group of survivors, well, they have to start the entire world over again. Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. That story, it's not a one-off. It's not isolated. It turns out this narrative has incredibly deep roots that stretch way back, all across the ancient Near East, predating many of the holy books we're familiar with today. I mean, just look at this. You have the Epic of Gilgamesh from ancient Babylonia. We're talking thousands of years ago. And in it, there's a guy named Utnapishtim who gets a warning from the gods to build a giant boat to survive a world-ending flood. Sound familiar? It should. Now, the reasons for the flood change a little from story to story. Maybe it's angry gods, maybe it's the wickedness of humanity, or disbelief. But the key ingredients, they're always the same. A hero who's chosen, a warning from a higher power, and a massive boat to save the day. The parallels are just undeniable. And you know, this isn't just about comparing old stories. We have actual physical proof. Take a look at this. This is an ancient clay tablet from Mesopotamia, and a brilliant scholar named Irving Finkel actually decoded it. And guess what it describes? Its very own version of the Great Flood story. The fact that someone took the time to carve this story into clay thousands of years ago, that tells you just how real and important this event was to them. So the story isn't just contained to the Near East. Not at all. From there, it's like a ripple in a pond that just keeps expanding, touching almost every corner of the globe. And this is the point where the story transforms from a local legend into a truly global phenomenon. The sheer number of these stories is just mind-blowing. In the Hindu scriptures, for instance, there's the story of a man named Manu, who builds a boat to save life from a flood. But get this is my favorite part. Another one of his names is Mahanav. Maha means great, and Nav, well, that sounds an awful lot like newer or Noah, doesn't it? It's just wild. And the list goes on and on. You've got the Numendario story in Korea, the Ifugao in the Philippines. Even ancient China has its own traditions about a flood that changed the world. You see this pattern repeating everywhere. It's just there. So when you have this many stories from all over the world, you have to ask the question, right? If this flood was a real event, where's the ark? And that one question completely changes the game. It takes us out of the world of ancient texts and drops us right into a modern-day hunt for cold, hard, physical evidence. And believe it or not, that hunt had a major breakthrough back in October 1959. A Turkish army captain, İlhan Durapanar, was flying a NATO mapping mission over eastern Turkey. Just a routine flight. But then he spots something down below, something that just doesn't belong. It's this massive, perfectly boat-shaped outline high up on a mountain. And this one photograph, wow, it kicked off a firestorm of a debate that is still raging today. Yeah, that discovery put this remote spot on the map, big time. Expeditions started showing up, and it got a ton of international attention over the years. But honestly, it's the new stuff, the recent investigations that are the most exciting. Today, scientists are using tech like 3D ground-penetrating radar. You can think of it like an ultrasound for the Earth. It lets them see what's buried deep underground, creating a map of it, all without having to dig a single shovel of dirt. And what those scans are showing them? Well, it hasn't solved the mystery. If anything, it's made it even deeper. It's sparked this huge debate among scientists and archaeologists. So, what are they looking at? Is it the actual remains of the most famous ship in history? Or is it just a really, really convincing trick of nature?
All right, so the whole debate really comes down to this. On one side, you have people who say the 3D scans are proof. They show it looks like a man-made structure under the ground. We're talking parallel lines, right angles, things that nature doesn't usually make. And here's the kicker, its length is a perfect match for the dimensions of the ark given in the Bible. But then, on the other side, you have the skeptics. They argue it's a natural, though very unusual, rock formation called a syncline. It's basically a fold in the rock that just happens to look like a boat. They point out that no one's found any confirmed petrified wood, and they ask, could a wooden boat really last for thousands of years anyway?
And just to make the puzzle even more complicated, there's the whole question of where to even look. The biblical account says the ark landed on the mountains of Ararat, which is why everyone's so focused on this one area in Turkey. But the Quranic account points to a different mountain entirely, Mount Judi, which is a good 175 miles away. So even the oldest sources don't seem to agree on the final resting place. So where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with one of the biggest questions you can ask. Are all these stories, from every corner of the planet, a kind of shared memory? The faint echo of a real global catastrophe that got burned into the collective mind of humanity? Or is it something else? Is it just the ultimate proof of how powerful a good story can be? A myth about destruction, survival, and starting over that's so fundamental to who we are that we were always meant to tell it, over and over, forever.